This recording will cover Chapter 11 in your textbook, Organization and Study Skills, Strategies, and Techniques. So, especially for some of your older students with high incidence disabilities, this could be a really important and really valuable chapter for you because you want to think about some of your students might be very disorganized, not just with high incidence disabilities, right? Sometimes middle school students, high school students, sometimes are just disorganized in general. So this chapter talks a lot about, general overall kind of organization and some study skills, some strategies, techniques. Think about how you study. If you have any study skills or strategies that you yourself use, and think about, hopefully what you use is valuable to you, right? Like maybe it's taking notes, but you might need to teach your students how to take notes. Again, this chapter is really for students with disabilities and students who are just students in general, right? Not necessarily just with disabilities. So you want to think about students' organizational needs, and thinking about in the early years, right? In the early years, students' time is pretty well spoken for, right? Like when they're kindergarten, first grade, the teacher tells them, okay, here's what you're going to do. Okay, now it's time for this. Okay, it's 11 o'clock. It's time to this, right? But as students get older, they have to really start managing their own time. There is a balance between in school and out of school activities. If you have your own kids, you're probably running here and there and everywhere. And especially if you have more than one kid, my friends with kids tell me, oh, I have soccer and I have baseball and I have tennis and I have this and I have this. And they're just going back and forth, if their child isn't old enough to drive yet. So thinking about, a balance between in school and out of school. Okay, so also, as they get older, we expect students to do a lot of these things really on their own, right? Without a lot of uh, um, prompting from the teacher. So this is from a middle school article, or middle school teachers' expectation of organizational ability. I can't even talk today. You all read that yourselves. So we want them to be able to turn in their homework, start the work immediately, right? We shouldn't have to ask them 27 times when they are in sixth or seventh grade to start their work immediately. But guess what? Some of your students, you're going to need to teach them all of these things. Even something simple, bringing a pencil to class. Let me tell you, I have college students who do not bring a pencil to class. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with here, people. So also we can think about using instructional conferencing practices and strategies, motivating and building the students' trust, help students organize and begin tasks, especially if you are, working in an inclusive setting, whether you're the gen ed, if you end up being the gen ed teacher for some reason, or if you're the special ed teacher in inclusive settings, you really need to make sure that you are understanding the curriculum, the classroom teacher's goals, all those other things, and how you can help the students organize and begin tasks. Because sometimes just telling them, hey, start on this, sometimes that doesn't work. As I'm sure those of you who are working with older students, I'm sure you understand that and have seen that firsthand. So you want to make sure to teach your students about schedules, especially, when they're changing classes, right? Maybe that starts in seventh grade, maybe that starts in sixth grade, maybe that starts in fifth grade, whatever. But when students are changing classes, they have new schedules, maybe their schedule switches kind of every 9 weeks or whatever, typically in elementary school, your schedule stays pretty much the same, right? But as you get older, you might do this block of courses for the first semester. Then your schedule might switch. You might have a whole new block of courses for the second semester. So making sure that students can read it and understand it, and that they know where they're going, right? Especially if it's a new subject that maybe they've never taken before. They're taking a dance class at a high school or something, or an art class, and they've never been to that section of the school maybe. So you're going to need to show them how to get there, where it is, what's the kind of the quickest route, especially, if there's only 4 or 5 minutes in between classes, how are they going to get there? Post the schedule in various places, including on them. I mean, don't like tape it to their shirts because I don't think they would like that. But, in their notebooks, in their backpack, in something that they might carry with them. Okay, students also need to be able to set a schedule, coordinate deadlines, revise plans, all of those things. You want to think about how you're going to assign work or assignments, right? And how are students going to complete assignments? Okay, so thinking about giving assignments, how students are going to receive them, are they effective? What about students with high incidence? Are you going to send them home with hours and hours and hours and hours of homework? Please tell me the answer to that was no. Especially some of your students with high incidence, they might have some therapies after school. They might have some other stuff going on. So try not to overload them with homework. I know people have different opinions about homework, but thinking about these students and everything else that they might have going on, medical needs that they might have. It might take, a long time for dinner to happen with this particular student or something like that. So make sure the homework is relevant, make sure it's necessary, make sure it's not too much, in my opinion. But that's just me. So thinking about completing assignments, you want to make sure that you are giving clear directions. And these could be, assignments in class or homework assignments. Down here it cited development and validation of a classroom assignment routine for inclusive settings. So this one's focusing on classrooms, but also, or, in inclusive classrooms. So state the purpose and the completion benefits. Why is it important for you to do this? Models and examples, right? As you continue in your program here, you will hear a lot more about modeling and examples and explicit instruction. We've talked about that a little bit over the course of this semester, but I promise you will hear it a lot more. You want to think about, if there's social interaction, student choice, right? Especially things that aren't going to impact your life one way or the other, right? Does it matter if a student uses a blue pen or a red pencil or whatever? Does it really matter? Is it going to impact your life? No. Is the world still going to turn? Yes. Will it get students more motivated and more willing to participate, especially in stuff they might not like? Yes, right? Give them those choices. Give them time to be creative and express themselves as maybe a way that works better for them, right? And also provide them with available resources or name them. Don't just expect them to know, oh, if I need help on such and such, I could look here, or I could ask this teacher, or I could ask my friend. Be specific with them. Okay, make sure assignment giving strategy is responsive to the process students should follow. So make sure it all kind of goes along together. And if they don't understand the process of, what to do when they get an assignment, should they write it in their notebook? Should they put the assignment right in their backpack? What should they do with that? So you want to think about how you can make, the assignment giving process really as clear as can be. Okay, so 5 ways students can check assignment notes. Well, they could explain the assignment to a partner. They could check a partner's assignment notes, right? So kind of going back and forth, that reciprocal gives them a chance to interact with others. They could list the steps they might need to complete the task. And, Georgia's, my dog, her steps might be different than Ghostbuster, one of her little dog friends, right? The steps that the students need might be different. Overall, they will probably be the same steps, but the individual students, they might need, some of them might need to write down 20 steps, every single thing. Take homework folder out of bag, open homework folder, put homework into folder. It could need to be, for some students, it might need to be that specific. Okay, you also want to state what they should get out of the assignment. So we're not just giving them busy work, right? We're not just giving them something that's going to pass the time. Why are they doing it? Explain why the assignment should contribute to what they're going to get out of it. Okay, is that the number 4 they need? They mean, yes, I think so. Why are we asking them to do this? Okay, then you want to think about, oh, did I skip one? No, I did not. You want to think about the purposes of homework. Okay, again, you're not going to give them brand new. See, I disagree with this, to be honest. Learning original information, I would say practicing original information. We don't want them to be learning something brand new during their homework. Are we going to use it as punishment? Please tell me your answer to that is absolutely not, right? All that's going to do is give homework a bad name, even worse than it already has. But homework might help to extend a lesson or maybe complete a lesson, or connecting the parents to the school day, right? Saying, hey parents, here's what we did today. Could you help your students with this for a few minutes? Thanks. Okay, so homework completion strategies might be homework buddies. students who are assigned to be available to each other at homework time, right? So maybe they could learn how, FaceTime, or not learn how, because obviously they all know how to do that. Maybe they could text if they needed help on a question. They could text their homework buddy, which also helps with friendships. It helps with social interaction, all of those kind of things that students with high incidence disabilities need, and they need help with some of those things. So cooperative homework teams, teams of students in which participants know how to help each other when they have questions about an assignment. So again, maybe they say, okay, we're all gonna Zoom at 7 o'clock tonight, or we're gonna have a group text or something like that. So again, thinking about not just the homework per se, but what else can students with high incidence disabilities get out of homework, if that makes sense. Okay, we wanna think about note taking. So how you might have to teach your students how to take appropriate notes. Are they going to copy down every single word? No, they're not, right? So you want to teach them how to take appropriate notes. When you're lecturing, you might want to say, hey, everybody, this is really important. Write this down. Okay, and maybe you're going to show it on the board. You give them a few minutes, they're going to write it down. Okay, the pause procedure, kind of the same thing, a break in a lesson or lecture, usually about 2 minutes, during which students engage in specific activities to check their notes. So that's just a lecture pause. Hey, we're going to take a few minutes. I want you to turn to your shoulder partner and compare your notes. Then we'll come back together and, I'll make sure that you have all the key points, kind of thing. Review time, this is giving students the opportunity to review their notes immediately before a test, which teachers tend to say, put your notes away right away. We have a test in 20 minutes, so you can't look at your notes, right? But for these students, guess what? A brief review can allow students to correct and elaborate on their notes and fill in any gaps that they might have as close to the test as possible so that it is still fresh in their memory. Okay, some other note-taking strategies. Well, strategic note-taking, so this is where teachers give students written cues on note-taking paper to prompt them to use their own metacognitive skills during lectures in order to increase active engagement. So really providing them with skills and strategies to take notes. Guided notes might be outlines or sentences corresponding to the lecture presentation that include blanks where students should fill in key content from the lecture. I use guided notes. One of my college classes here at Francis Marion, there's a guided notes assignment, okay? Lecture cueing, we just talked about that, and then also review time. So those are more teacher initiated, where these are more student initiated or student actions. Then we want to think about test giving and preparing for the test, how you're going to give the test. Are you going to, move their seats for some reason the day of the test? No, probably not, right? Try to keep everything as similar as you can. Okay, effective testing accommodation practices. Again, we will learn a lot more about accommodations and modifications in a later class. Some of you might be in the class now, but if you are not, you will hear a lot more about accommodations and modifications. But you want to think about, when you're just doing your daily lessons, if the student has accommodations for their test, you want to make sure that they're using those same accommodations during kind of just their learning and also their testing, okay? You want to make sure that the student, no, not the certain, knows how to use those accommodations. You're not just going to give them something that they've never seen before and say, okay, be free, go ahead. That's not going to be an effective use of accommodations. So some other test taking tips, preparing for the test, and here are some acronyms that you're going to want to go into your textbook to learn more about. So preparing first and lists. I always want to say last there. I don't know why. And then taking the test, pirates. Who doesn't want to learn a strategy called pirates? So these would be strategies that you would teach your students. You would take the time to explicitly teach them. Hey, today we're going to learn a new test taking strategy called pirates. Everybody, what's the strategy called? Pirates. Yes, great. We're going to go through each of the steps. We might only go through the first 3 steps today, and then we'll go through the rest of the steps tomorrow. So you want to think about, do test taking skills make a difference? I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. They do, right? So, but again, you might have to teach these test taking skills and tips to your students. So you might want to do practice tests, especially if you have a student who gets really, really nervous. You're going to prompt positive self-attributions. I can do this. I'm prepared. I'm ready. I know this material. I got this. And then here's another strategy, the answer strategy for essay tests. Again, you will teach these strategies, the answer, pirates, first, last, list. See? before they're actually taking the test, right? This will be all part of your prep for the test. Even the pirate strategy, you will teach it before, give them a low stakes test to practice the pirate strategy. Whew, that's a lot. All right, that is it for what chapter are we in? 11. I will see you again for chapter 12.